All right, so this video is going to cover chapter 9 of Groundwork for a Better Vocabulary. If you want to get your book and follow along, you can do that. So let's take a look at the words here, and we'll see if we have any clues here. So we have brutal, discipline, eliminate, which ends in that 8 sound, emphasis, furthermore, interpret, propose, resort, ultimate, it. So it ends in an it sound, and then we have vague. All right, so our first word here is brutal, which is an adjective. Justine's method of breaking up with her boyfriend was brutal. She texted him, "I'm dumping you," while he was in the middle of taking an exam. In the movie, the actor played a brutal criminal. In real life, however, he was a very kind and gentle man. And what brutal means is mean. But brutal really has more of a meaning than just mean. Mean just means not nice. But brutal also has a meaning of violence to it, meaning that it describes something that's mean and violent or extremely hurtful. So for example, in the first one, we're not talking about any violence in the way that she broke up with her boyfriend, but we say it's brutal because the way that she did it was a very cruel way that would be very hurtful. So if he is in the middle of taking an exam and she texts to him, "I'm breaking up with you," you know, this is 2 levels of stress that he has to deal with at the same time. In the second example, if we think about a brutal criminal, you know, a brutal criminal is the kind of criminal who's going to enjoy hurting and beating up people. Would be brutal. So brutal does mean mean, but it also has that meaning of violence and the desire to hurt someone. So our next one here is discipline. And in this case, discipline is a verb. There's also a noun meaning of it here, but we're focusing on the verb meaning of it. The pronunciation of them is the same, discipline and discipline, the verb and noun meanings. But let's look at the examples. The ball player was out of the game for bumping an umpire. He was also disciplined with a $10,000 fine. Jose wanted to teach his children to be nonviolent, so he disciplined them in gentle ways, such as sending them to their rooms for a quiet time out. So what discipline means is to punish, but really discipline doesn't just mean to punish, you know, for the sake of punishing. Discipline means to punish with the goal of training people to obey the rules or follow some code of behavior. Basically, it's using punishment to correct disobedience. So discipline means that someone has done something wrong, and you're doing something to them so that they change their behavior. So in the first example, the baseball player touched the umpire or the referee, which is not acceptable behavior. So the discipline, the fine, he was made to pay money, and he was also kicked out of the game. But the reason for that was not just to hurt him. It wasn't brutal. Really the focus of it is to get him to change his behavior. Okay, so discipline really means to punish, but with the goal of training or teaching or instructing someone how to be or do something in a better way. So our next one here is eliminate, and eliminate is a verb, and we can know that from the sound at the end. Eliminate is the 8 sound, right, which clues us into that's a verb. So if you hang up clothes right after the dryer stops, you can eliminate the need to iron many times. Because my father has high blood pressure, he's supposed to eliminate salt from his diet. So what eliminate means is to remove, and it really means to completely remove or to get rid of something. And normally we're eliminating something either because it's unpleasant, It's something that we want to avoid because it's harmful for us. So in the first example, most people don't enjoy ironing their clothes. So you can get rid of that thing that you don't enjoy by taking your clothes out of the dryer. In the second one, the salt will make my father's high blood pressure worse. So we're taking that out because it's causing a problem. With the picture, it says eliminate odors. Odors are smells. So this is to get rid of bad smells. But eliminate really should mean to completely remove something, not just for a temporary amount of time, but for a long-term time. One of the times you may have heard this word if you watch sports is we can talk about a person or a team being eliminated from a competition. What this means is that they are completely removed. So for example, in the World Cup, if someone is eliminated from the World Cup, it means that they lost and they don't get to play any more games. So in the World Cup, there's two stages. There's the first stage, which is the group stage, and nobody is eliminated in the beginning of those because each team plays, I think, plays 3 games, right? And then at the end, the top 2 teams get to keep on going, but then the bottom 2 teams, they are eliminated. So eliminated means that you're removed from that situation and you can't continue on. All right, so our next one here is emphasis. And emphasis is a noun. And you may know also or you may have heard the verb form of this, which is to emphasize, but we're focusing on the noun form here. So Brad's father placed a lot of emphasis on his sons doing well in sports, but gave little attention to how Brad did in his schoolwork. In my Spanish class, too much emphasis was given to reading and not enough to speaking. So emphasis means importance, but really it means a special importance, value given to something. So when we're talking about giving something emphasis, it means that we're saying that that thing is more important than other things. That is the thing that we have more value for, that it has more significance, that it has more weight, that it's more of a priority for us. So in the first example, it's saying the father put a lot of emphasis on sports. So the thing that was important to Brad's father was that his son do well in sport. However, he didn't give the same emphasis, he doesn't give the same importance, the same priority, the same force to how he does in school. Okay? So emphasis means you're placing special importance on something rather than something else because you think it's more important. Here's another one. Furthermore. Now, furthermore is an adverb, and we haven't had that many adverbs so far in this book, and there aren't that many in the book. But let's take a look at this. I don't believe your story about a flat tire, said Hal's boss. And furthermore, I haven't believed any of your other excuses for being late. The Lakers will probably win because they're a talented team. Furthermore, they are coached well. So furthermore means also. Now, furthermore is an adverb that is generally used as a transition. And what I mean by that is that it tends to be used at the beginning of the sentence. If we reflect on what we're learning in about supporting details, furthermore is a addition word. What it means is that it's giving you additional information. So you've said one thing, and that you're giving additional information in support of that point. So some other words that mean the same as this are like moreover, or also, or additionally, besides, to. So furthermore means that you're just giving additional information about some point. All right, so our next one here is interpret. And interpret is a verb. Okay, so let's look at the sentences. After Tarek had a dental x-ray, the dentist sat down with him to interpret it. How should I interpret the fact that although we were friendly yesterday, Jean refused to speak to me today? So in this case, interpret means to explain. But really, it means more than that. It means to explain the meaning of something. And that something could be the meaning of information, or the meaning of words, or the meaning of actions. So when you're interpreting something, you, the person who is interpreting, understands the information, the words, or the actions, but the person who you are talking to doesn't understand the information, the words, or the actions. So, for example, in the first one, with the x-ray, Tarek isn't a dentist. So if he looks at an x-ray of his teeth, he's not going to know what that means. But the dentist is a professional, and he or she knows exactly what that means. Okay, so she's able to explain it to him. A way that you've probably heard this word before is with language, right? We talk about language interpreters, and interpreters are people who speak two languages, right? So, for example, a Spanish interpreter is someone here in the U.S. who would speak Spanish and English. So if I was listening to someone speak Spanish, the interpreter would tell me what those words meant, would explain to me what those words meant, because I don't understand those words. So when you interpret, you explain to someone what something meant. So the next one here is propose. And propose is also a verb. Our little brother proposed buying our parents a puppy for Christmas this year, but instead we decided to give them a coffee grinder. Raphael was obviously too tired to study, so his mother proposed that he take a nap and get back to work later. What propose means is to suggest. But really, it means more than that. What propose really means is it means to put forward an idea or a plan. So this would be a suggestion for consideration or discussion by others. So propose means that I'm suggesting some idea or some plan, something that I believe or something I think we should do, that I want you to think about, that I want you to talk about, that I want you to consider. So in the first one, the little brother proposed buying a puppy. The idea that he wanted us to think about was buying a puppy or a baby dog, okay? That this would be a good gift for our parents, okay? In the second one, the mother is proposing that he takes a nap. So Raphael was too tired to study. So the idea that his mother is giving him is, why don't you take a nap? Why don't you get some sleep? And then she wants Raphael to think about this. Now, propose doesn't mean you're telling someone to do something. It doesn't mean that. It means that you're suggesting, that you're saying, I think that we should do this, or I think you should do this. But the decision is up to whoever is listening. A way that you may have already heard this word propose is it's also used to mean to ask someone to marry you. So propose really means that I'm not saying you have to marry me. It's I'm saying I want to marry you. What do you think about that idea? Do you want to get married too? Okay, so it's suggesting some idea. You're presenting some idea to the person. So the next one here is resort. And in this case, resort is a verb. And we'll talk briefly about the noun form of resorts, because my guess is that you have probably already heard that meaning before, but this one is slightly different. So after I cooked some spaghetti, I realized I didn't have any any spaghetti sauce, so I resorted to eating it with ketchup. Although school was hard for Ray, he never resorted to cheating. So resort means to turn to. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind here is that with resort, it's followed by to, and then it's often followed by the ing form of the verb. So resort means to turn to, but it really means that because you're in a situation where you don't have any other choice, or you're in a difficult situation where things aren't right, that you turn to something else that is not as good, as good a solution, or not as proper a solution as what you would want to. But you're using that because you don't have any other choice. It's the last thing that you can do. So for example, here you made the spaghetti already. You have the pasta, and you thought, oh, I have some sauce. But then when you go and you look, you realize, I don't have any sauce to eat it with. So what this person resorted to is they put ketchup on it. It's not a great decision, but maybe it's better than eating the pasta without anything. In the second one, it says he never resorted to cheating. So even though the school was hard, right, he's in a difficult situation with his school. Right? The school is very difficult for him. He doesn't know what to do, but he still doesn't resort to cheating, right? That is a possibility. That's a way to solve the problem, but it's not, well, obviously it's not a good way. But in this case, it's something that he didn't decide to do. One of the meaning that you may have already heard of this resort as a noun. A resort as a noun is a vacation place, a place where you go for vacation. And really, the meaning is not related at all to the verb meaning, but a resort would be a fancy place to go on vacation. Okay? So here is our almost our last word is ultimate. And the sound of this one is it at the end, and it makes it an adjective. So chocolate ice cream filled with chocolate chips and topped with fudge sauce, for a chocolate lover like me, that is the ultimate dessert. Saying that they learned a lot in class is the ultimate compliment students can pay to a teacher. So ultimate in this case means the greatest. Okay? Really what it means is it means the best achievable or imaginable of its kind. So in the first example, this chocolate ice cream with chocolate chips and fudge sauce, which is a kind of chocolate sauce, is the greatest possible dessert for someone who loves chocolate. In the second one, the best thing that you can say to a teacher is, oh, I learned a lot in your class, thank you. Right? Because that's the goal. That's the goal of teachers. I'm not saying that that's true of every teacher, but a lot of teachers, including me, that's the nicest thing to hear, is to hear that people feel that they learned a lot in the class. So some other words that are similar to this, besides greatest, we can also talk about words like, you may not know these other words, but basically the highest, or the best, or the top. The ultimate is whatever is the best thing that you can imagine having. All right, and then here's our last word, and this word is vague, and vague is an adjective. On the essay test, give detailed answers, not vague ones. Ben only had a vague idea of what yeast was. He knew it was used to make bread, but he wasn't sure what it did. So in this case, vague means general. But vague really means, it means more than that. Vague means that that things are unclear, or indefinite, or uncertain. In their character or in their meaning. So, for example, in the first one, you don't want to give vague answers. Vague answers, as opposed to detailed ones, means that when you're answering a question, but you're not being specific. As a result of not being specific, your answer is not very clear. You're just sort of generally talking about something. In the second one, if you have a vague idea about something, it means that you have you have some knowledge of it, but your knowledge is not very clear. It's not very detailed. Other words that mean similar things to vague are like uncertain or unsure or unclear, or indefinite, meaning that something that is vague is something that you don't have a full or a detailed idea about. Okay? So I hope this is helpful. You can go ahead and do the online activities for this one, and then we'll go over the material in class, and we'll do some more practice with it. Bring any questions that you have to class. Take care. Bye.